This is Margaret Lee, Special People and Places. I am in a very special place today, Wyandot, Michigan. We are in town this weekend for our 55th high school reunion. This is where I went to high school, graduated in 1960. Also, my husband Larry went to high school here, as well as his twin brother Terry.
Chicken or whatever.
It's funny because there's only two things out in the woods, and I take my dog every day.
But on that show, he looks at me and says, "Did you turn the water off?" No, I didn't turn the water off. He says he could. He said, "I can't remember."
I'll be back in your class. Oh. Excuse me.
Oh, you're okay.
They did it more than once. They had a good. They had a lot of fun with that one. Mr. Howard, I think it was.
Oh, I don't remember because
We went the whole season without winning a game, but there's something you learn about humility, and the chance to succeed has to be the chance to fail. You can't. There's no guaranteed success in anything in life.
Right.
11 and 12 years old, I think. Yeah, that
What
was
school
terrific.
was that, Lee?
Which what?
What school was that?
Oh no! Actually, it was a recreation league. Yeah, see,
Summer recreation.
Wyandot was very well. Yeah, Washington School. Well, you actually at lunch hour, kids used to make pickup games, and I think it was you who said to some of the older kids playing baseball, he said, "Come on, give this young guy, a chance to join us and play too." And so those things really mean a lot. And then, because Wyandot has a solid tax base, the recreation department and the schools were very good quality.
They sure were.
That was the baseball ran through age 10. At age 11, I says, "Oh, I want to be on a team." They said, "Oh, the teams are already made up. You'll have to start your own team if you want to be in the league." So I didn't have much choice. And I went around rapping on doors and recruiting people and got a team together, and we had fun.
All right. So you asked my Larry.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I recall some of the others. Oh, my cousin Jimmy Phillips, I think there was once he got below a fly ball and it caught him right on the noggin. And of course, we should have been really sympathizing with him, but instead we were upset because he missed a chance to put out the runner.
You didn't care if he was hurt.
Well, I did, but it's in the heat of the moment, you forget about some of those important details. My father would say television has tremendous potential as an educational medium.
We've lost him,
And
Lee.
he'd say, "It's really sad, isn't it?"
Not really.
This is the Friday night pizza party, and all of the class of 1960 is enjoying the fellowship of our classmates, and I'm here with George Rupert. George, you told me a story 5 years ago at the 50th reunion, and I have thought about it for 5 years, and I want to hear more about it. You had a little battle with the class of 1959. Now tell us about it.
Well, they had I don't know, do you call that a class mascot or?
Well, they had a theme for their senior annual.
Onward and upward or something.
Onward and upward, and they used to have that big rocket. How big of a rocket was that?
It stood about as tall as I am, and It was at least blue and white. It might have been red, blue, and white. But it was signed by their whole class. Everybody in that class had signed this rocket, and every day they had it at their lunch table, which they all sat around.
And then somehow you and you said Jim Candela got a little irritated.
Well, I don't know if we were actually irritated, but we thought it would be great fun to steal it. And Jim and I think, I don't know if maybe he remembers some other people involved, but there were some other people, and for the life of me, I can't remember who. But I had a car in those days, and we discussed it one day, and the next day I came with my car with the rear seat taken out so I could put the rocket in the trunk and it would just go right straight into the car. And I don't even know if we ate lunch first. Maybe we did and then did it. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But Jim grabbed the rocket and brought it down to the car. I was downstairs right on the driveway behind the high school with the trunk open, put it in the trunk, and I took off to where I was going to secure it.
Okay.
Then, that was the easy part.
The getaway car. You drove the getaway car.
I came back to school and I was in my chemistry class with David Brinklow was the instructor.
Remember him?
And as the class progressed, he kept looking out the window because something was going on in the hall. And
Now this was the same day?
Same day. And they, when the bell rang, all these people came running into the room and came directly at me. And I don't remember who any of them were except the very first woman was a neighbor of mine. And I honestly can't think of her first name, but I think her last name was Reeves. And she was
She was in the class of 1959.
from the class of 59. And they grabbed me and dragged me out. I think somebody pulled my hair even, which aggravated me. But and then they took me down and marched me through the showers in the gym area, and then deposited me in the trunk of a car and took me to the river, and sent me sailing.
Good grief, George. What time of year was it?
It was in the springtime.
Well, you're lucky there. It could have been in the middle of the winter time.
It could have been. But I made my way home. I think I actually called my mother, and she told me to take a taxi. And I said, well, I wanted to go back and get my car at school.
Now you were soaking wet.
Soaking wet. Even my gray suede shoes.
My gosh, George.
The old Tom McCann flag flyer jobs, you know. And anyway, my mother...
Did they even ask you if you could swim?
No, they didn't ask me. And...
You were already wet. They took you through the showers?
I was already wet, but they decided to finish it up. And they had already done gym, and I didn't know that. So I didn't know anything. I just thought I was the poor sucker that was singled out. And so I had taken it to a place that I worked on the weekends and hid it in a storage room. And starting.
But you didn't tell when they were when they ran you through the showers. You didn't tell.
No. We didn't say anything. I had several phone calls that day, of course. A couple of very interesting ones. One was from Julie Jeffrey, the beautiful Julie Jeffrey with
It's our homecoming queen.
a black spot in her heart because she wanted me to paint the rocket black, solid black, and then to give it back to them. You know, I told her I wasn't interested in doing that, but the rest of the phone calls for the next couple.
George, they threw you in the river.
Yeah.
That was really big of you not to destroy it.
Well, I don't know if it was big of me. I just didn't, it wasn't in my heart to do that. I just wanted to have some fun, you know. The other phone calls that I got were from Paul Rattray, who was in the 59 class. I think he was their class president, actually. I'm not sure. Yeah. But he realized after the first couple of calls that I wasn't going to crush it or something, and so he was a little more understanding after that. He just wanted it back, and he wanted me to know that everybody in the class had signed that rocket, and I was aware of that, and I didn't want to destroy that. I thought it would be nice. He's probably still got it in his garage somewhere, but. After a few days, we made arrangements to give it back. I don't remember actually giving it back, but we did do that. I don't know if he came and got it or if I took it to him. It seems to me I took it to him, but I'm not sure.
I don't know how they could top that, throwing you in the river, but I can't believe that you didn't tell.
Well, they didn't really ask me to tell anything, I don't think, but they might have. My head was swimming long before I got to the river. My brain was going like this because I was in shock that all of this was happening.
All you did was drive the getaway car.
Drove that getaway car. But then again, I secured it so nobody else could damage it, so that's okay.
That's true. I'm so glad that you survived that, but you didn't tell, but eventually it came out.
Well, it's, I guess they knew all the participants, and I think they knew them right away. So somebody either was paying attention or somebody told them, you know, that's what happened.
I didn't realize it was the same day they were after you.
Yeah, very quickly. Yeah, they were very quick.
What did Mr. Brinklow do when?
Well, he never said anything to me about it, but I heard that a couple of years later, I knew a young kid who was in his class, and he said, and something was going out in the hallway, and he said to the class, the last time that happened, they came in and dragged George Rupert out of this class.
And threw him in the river.
Well, he didn't say that, but that's what happened. So that kid was a neighborhood kid, so he knew who I was, and he also knew I'd been in the river too.
So you were wet before they threw you in the river.
Yeah, I was wet before, and I was quite scared being put in the trunk, so I didn't like that too well.
Heavens, no!
And like I said, my brain was swimming long before I got to the river, so.
But you did live through it and live to tell about it, and it is funny now, George.
And it was fun then too.
George,
Yes.
we thank you so much for your time, and it's so good to hear this entire story because I've thought about this for 5 years.
Now, even though I don't remember who the other participants were, none of them have stepped forward to admit that they were part of it.
But Jim Candela was the brains, wasn't he?
Candela was the brains. He's the brains.
Thank you, George. Jim Candela.
He's a troublemaker.
Jim Candela was the brains.
I think what it said,
Jim Candela, another great classmate. I was talking to George Rupert, and we were talking about that little skirmish, little battle between the two of you and the class of 1959, and George said you were the brains behind that little escapade.
Nobody ever accused me of having brains, Margaret. Let's try to stay with the facts.
Oh, no. I mean, I can't believe you thought of that. So how did you come up with how to steal it? George was in the getaway car.
I'll give you a little background. We sat in the lunchroom daily for several days and we watched the seniors huddled around this stupid little rocket, and we were getting more annoyed as each day went by. So I suggested to the fellows that I ate lunch with that we ought to find a way to get that rocket and get it out of the lunchroom. End this. So the plot was hatched. We actually did have a plan, and it's very possible that some of your viewers may have seen one of the outgrowths of our project under the name Mission Impossible. So what we decided to do was that I would approach the seniors and tell them that the office had sent me to get the rocket. They had the understanding that there was some writing on the rocket that was inappropriate and they wanted to see it. So I picked it up, and as I approached the side door of the cafeterium, several of my classmates were standing near the side door. I bolted out of the side door. My classmates came and walked in front of it and didn't permit the seniors to go out after me. So then I ran down the back stairs to the road behind the school. George was waiting there. I handed the rocket off to him. He took off, I took off, and we all lived happily ever after. Almost. We thought we did. So I presume you want to talk about what happened next?
Yes, when the class of 59 retaliated.
Well,
And George said it was the same day.
I'm not certain of that. It was either the same day or the day after. But I was sitting in math class, paying attention, doing my work, and being the top-notch student that I always tried to be. Oh, wait a minute. That was another class. No, I was there in the class, and one young lady came in with a blue slip and said to Miss Foster, "The office wants to see Jim Candela." She posed as an office assistant. So I got up to leave, and I knew that something bad was about to happen. I got up and looked out in the hall, and there were several senior boys waiting for me, but I had to honor the request of the office, so I went out there. They grabbed a hold of me and ushered me out of the building and into a car, drove me down behind Wyandotte Hospital and threw me in what we called the Burroughs Slip.
Now we think this is the spot that George Rupert and Jim Candela were tossed into by the class of 1959.
Which was a little body of water behind the hospital. They allowed me to take off my shoes first, though. And I was able to preserve my pointy little patent leather shoes and walk home with them, a walk of shame, all the way home down Biddle Avenue, and explain to my mom exactly what I was doing at home, all soaked.
George said they put him through the showers first. He was already wet before they threw him in the trunk of the car. Now, did they throw you in the trunk of a car?
No, they put me in the back seat, surrounded by two seniors on the back and two seniors in the front.
And the four of them threw you in. Jim, did they even ask if you could swim?
No. that was not an issue. They knew that as a student of Roosevelt High School phys ed that I was probably a world-class swimmer. I wasn't.
But they didn't know that.
No, they didn't know that.
Good grief, Jim, that had to be frightening.
No, well, as long as my shoes were off, I thought I had a fighting chance of being okay. I actually was a decent swimmer, so I was able to get out and avoid any ugly circumstance, any notoriety.
Well, when did they actually get the rocket back?
Well, they asked me where it was, but I truly didn't know. And I didn't know for several days after that. And I chose not to ask. Because if I knew, eventually they'd break me down and I'd have to rat George out. I didn't want to do that. So I tried to be a good budding criminal.
But finally, they got the rocket back.
Finally, someone relented. George and I can't agree on who that was.
Well, it's been more than 55 years ago.
What I know for certain was that I didn't know where the rocket was. So one way or the other, they found out and got it back. I don't think it ever appeared again in the cafeteria, though. I don't have that recollection. I'm pretty certain it didn't. It was a lot of fun, and I look back on it fondly.
Well, since you two survived the river, and that's a treacherous river, the Detroit River. I mean, freighters go up through there, and the undercurrent is really swift, isn't it?
Out in the river, but fortunately I was thrown in the slip behind the hospital, which was a little niche, and there was no current. No, it wasn't.
Well, thank God for that.
Amen.
Yes, and it wasn't in the dead of winter either.
My recollection is that it was the early springtime. So.
Another break for you two boys, I tell you.
Well, we did the best we could with limited talent, Margaret.
Well, I tell you, I think it's the funniest story out of the class. I really do.
Well, I have a lot of fond memories of high school. Not a lot of them have to do with high achievement, but we had a lot of fun.
Yes, we all did. But didn't you tell me you now play golf with one of the boys that threw you in the river?
He worked at a golf course where I golfed regularly. That was Dick Kohler. Turned out to be a fine gentleman, and he remembered the incident fondly, he said.
So you forgave him?
I forgave him. I was just pleased to be a part of Roosevelt history.
Well, you are Jim Candela. Oh, my gosh. Great story, Jim. Thank you. Thank you for telling it.
Does this mean we'll become stars and earn big money?
Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, George.
Thank you, Margaret.
You want Jim to stay?
You're going to stay too.
Oh.
You two guys just never change. You don't. You're still mischievous, aren't you?
Well, we're both very young at heart.
So just George is still mischievous?
I've tried to keep a clean record in everything. I've failed miserably, but I tried.
He was going to come and meet me in Europe one time, but he got hung up with the mafia crowd, so...
My reputation for planning apparently preceded that.
But I'm glad you admitted that Jim was the brains behind it.
He was the brains, and he also was first to kiss the water.
That's right. That's right.
Not certain about.
Well, they saw you. They saw you.
They yes, and I did not rat George out. I want to make that very clear. I've already talked to my lawyer about this.
You missed the shower. You know, one of the showers.
Yeah.
Must have been the result of some assessment they made.
And they were kinder to Jim, and they saw him take the rocket, but they were kinder.
I think they were different groups of people, actually. You know, the people he had and the people that I had. They
George?
it up some way.
But George,
I was bigger than Jim, so they probably said, well, we're going to have to be a little rougher with this guy.
but they threw you in a trunk.
Yes, they did.
Well, two of us came together and something magical happened. George was saved. It was kismet.
Great story, you two. Just a great story. I love it. I love it.
Well, thanks.
We enjoyed talking about it.
We certainly did.
Thank you. Believe that you actually went in the river here.
Well, you have to believe it because I was young and stupid. And me and I don't know who was with me, but we decided that we could swim to the island because it looked so near.
Well, it does.
And then we proceeded to swim, and neither one of us made it. We had to be picked up in a rowboat. We were smart enough to take a rowboat. Or
Back to shore.
Follow us in a rowboat.
You never attempted that again,
No,
did
never
you?
attempted it. Only got maybe a quarter of a way out there, and then the current started taking us to Toledo or wherever that river goes.